All right, everyone. Ian here with Scotch on the Rocks. And today I want to go over rocket stoves. So if you go on YouTube and you look up rocket stoves, what you'll end up 9 times out of 10 seeing is somebody taking a piece of wood just like this and cutting it into 4 pieces with an axe. Then what they'll do is they'll take one piece and they'll just shave it down so that there's a hole in the center. Then they'll put the pieces back together, but they'll have pieces of kindling around the sides for airflow. And then they'll wrap it with a piece of string or a piece of wire, whatever the case may be. Now, that seems like an awfully complicated thing for people to be doing, at least in my eyes, right? So, what I have is I have a different way to do it. It takes longer it takes longer initially, but once you get it going, it seems like it would be more efficient. It would be a better burn, and it would burn. And I've used this before, and it's burned the log all the way through, not just hot spots, places here, places there, which kind of seems to be the case for when you cut it into 4 and you get hot spots and different airflows. This is 2 holes, one drilled straight down, one drilled at a 90-degree angle, and that's it. That's all there is to it. The hard part is getting the holes drilled, but we'll go over that here in a minute. Today's Scotch on the Rocks is brought to you by Bullet Bourbon. Special shout out to one of my coworkers who's recently transferred to a different department. This one's for you, Chrissy. So, we have 2 logs here, and now when selecting your logs, what you want to do is you want to try and make sure that there aren't any big cracks in them, right? So if we look at this one, there are little cracks, but there's no big cracks that lead into the center. So we want to make sure that we have as much area around the sides as we can possible, because what will end up happening is that fire will start eating into the cracks and it'll mess up the burn. But these 2 pieces seem like two really good pieces. Now I know with fir, sometimes what you get is you get one big split in the center, right? One big crack in the center. We don't want that. We want as much area as possible around the log. So now we're going to go over how we do this. There's actually 2 ways that we're going to get this done, because I want to show the two different ways to do it. So the first one is we have this bushcraft tool. So it's got an eyelet and it's got a side for pounding, and that's for just fitting pieces of wood together, making a hole, fitting them down the sides, and then you can use this piece to make the hole, you can use this piece to fit the piece of wood, and then you can just join them together. It's got thicker side, so you can use a hammer and pound down on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use it, bore down into the center of the log, and then bore another 90-degree angle once we've basically bottomed out on this. The other way, which is way faster, but it's not really exactly bushcrafty, is we use a 1-inch spade bit, put it down in the center, and we use a drill. Now, again, there's no currant bushes out in the field, so depending on what you're doing, it may or may not be the way to go. I prefer this way, a lot less work. But again, we're talking about being in the field, and this may very well be something that you decide to pick up or put in your pack. I doubt you're going to carry a drill, spade bit, and a generator with you. But the reason I like rocket stoves is that they are super, super efficient. So one log will burn for hours, and once it gets going, it's its own fuel source, so you don't have to keep adding wood. You get a little bit of a fire going here in the center, and it burns itself. So, and the jet of flame that comes off of this can be focused on whatever you're doing. So let's say that it's perfect for cooking. So what you would do is you would take a nail here, a nail here, a nail here, whatever the case may be. It's just 3 nails. Then you could put your cooking surface on top of it, and the flame will jet right into the bottom of the cooking surface, and you have direct flame. So we are going to get to going on this. This is actually going to be a 2-part video. Not a 2-part video. It's all going to be one video, but it's about 5 o'clock right now. The sun is starting to go down. I won't have this done by the time the sun goes down. So tomorrow what we're going to do is I'm going to get these 2 going. Actually, I'll probably just end up getting one of them going because it's the same basic principle. But I just want to show you guys. We'll get one of them going, and then we'll cook something on it. But the really cool part about this video that I'm actually super proud of is this right here. So The astute amongst you will see that these are two Altoids cans. But the even more observant amongst you will notice that this one has been burned. I have been practicing with flint and steel. So that's another way to make fire that I've been practicing a lot. Just making sure that I have it down, that I have it on pat. And I actually feel like it's probably an easier way to make fire than a ferro rod. I know it seems out of the ordinary, and we'll figure that out once we get out into the field. But it seems to be all you're doing is smacking something against something else, and you have your piece of char cloth. And once that gets going, it actually gets really hot. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to, like I said, 2-part video. I'm going to cook for you. There's going to be a lot of hyperlapse because you don't need to hear me just sitting here drilling down into this, and I'll probably end up taking breaks. And, I have dinner reservations in a little while. So I'll save everybody from the boring stuff. But once we get to cooking, or once we get the fires going, I will show you. But it should be pretty self-explanatory. I shouldn't have to do any talking. Just boring 2 holes. As you can see by all the sawdust around me, it was a success. So this is the first one. I have the light shining down there. This was the one that I did by hand with that boring tool. And that is a lot of work. In fact, it was so much work that my Fitbit tracked it as a bike ride. So yeah, a lot of work, keeping the heart rate up like I had talked about in my previous video, making sure you stay in shape. And then I have this one, which was an absolute breeze because I used a drill for it. So again, straight down, you can see it. Now, the one thing that I do want to show you is the difference. So doing it by hand, you only have about, let's see here, that much. And I'm not good at measuring inches or distances or anything like that, so I'm not even going to try. But what I will say is that this is way deeper. So this one will burn way longer than that one will. So, in closing this clip here, I ended up going to the store and I picked up some steak, I picked up some mushrooms, some onions, some shrimp, and some garlic. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook those all up tomorrow on these. I'll probably end up using this one because, I worked really, really hard on it. The other cool thing that I wanted to add about this is that when you're done cooking with it, you can just plug up the holes and it'll put itself out. It's got this one suction hole and then the vent hole right here. But you can reuse this multiple times. Hence the reason, is it worth the work? I mean, that's going to be up to you. Again, I prefer the drill method. It's super easy. But if that's what you got to work with, that's what you got to work with, and just plug up the 2 holes when you're done. And I will show you on this one when we cook tomorrow. When I'm finished with it, I'll just plug up the holes and you can reuse it. And then this one will end up burning the entire way because I just want to show you how good of how efficient this is, how you're going to get rid of the entire log. So that's it for tonight's work. I'm going to call it a night and we'll meet back fresh tomorrow where there's sunlight and I'll cook up some dinner. Have a good night, guys. So they're calling for rain this afternoon. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do flint and steel separate. I'm going to do it completely separate of the fire stoves. But basically what we'll end up doing is I'll get a fire going right here. and then we'll take this fire and we'll transfer it to those rocket stoves. So what I have here is I have my 2 Altoids cans that I was talking about. I also have them Ranger banded together. So I'm going to pull them apart. And then the first one, we have extra cotton, right? You remember in my first aid video where I was at the dollar store and I picked up some of these? Yeah, that's exactly where they are. These are also good for fire starters, and they're good for first aid as well. As you can see, we got our flint, we have our steel. Just going to set this down. Now in the other one, the blackened one, we have our char cloth, which is just those cotton pads. And let's see if she opens. There we go. And voila. It's just pieces of char cloth, and that's all you need to take the spark. So with the flint and steel, the spark is actually it's not a super hot spark, so that's why you have difficulty getting it going into just regular things itself. That's why you need the char cloth to make the spark bigger and get it warmer. So what we're going to do, get our tinder bundle ready. Set this right there. Now, what I learned about flint and steels is that what you actually want to do, I'm going to take gloves off for this. I don't normally do that, but I feel like I need some dexterity. So what you're going to want to do is actually put the cloth, or on the char cloth, on the rock itself. Because when you spark it, the rocks will fly off the flint from the steel and land directly on the cotton. So, make sure I get this all on camera here. Actually, let's flip this around. There we go. And we got it. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll show you here in a second. Yep, it is up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, put it in our tinder bundle. And we have fire. Look at that. We have fire. So, without burning my hands, I stick that right on top. And just like that, we have fire. So, one of the other cool things that I did, or I decided to do, was take some more of these cotton balls, or these cotton pads, so I suppose, and I'm going to put, every time you do a fire, you want to make sure you're replenishing your cotton balls. I keep saying cotton balls. Cotton balls, cotton swabs, whatever you want to use. You want to make sure that you're replenishing those so that next time you go to make a fire, it's already right there. But, as you can see, it's going pretty good. I'm actually really happy with that. Like I said, I've been practicing, so I don't know if it's going to light this whole thing on fire. Probably not. I'm probably going to have to nurse it a little bit. But the theory is there, at least. There we go. Now we're talking. And now the tinder that I used for that was all just stuff that I found around the backyard. I checked with my lips to make sure that it was dry, and I put it all together, and that made an actual really, really good tinder bundle. I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to nurse this fire, and then right at about, it's kind of weather dependent at this point. I don't want it to rain and do this. I might end up doing it underneath my carport, but I just wanted to kind of show everybody the basics. I think this is going to be one of the new ways that I make fire from now on, one of the new old ways that I make fire from now on. That's all it was just practice till you finally got it, and I like it. I think it works. I think it's actually a little bit easier than a ferro rod, but that's just my opinion. We'll see what happens in inclement weather. But for this 40-degree day that it is right now, it was just perfect. So I'm gonna get the rocket stove going. As you can see, I got the fire going here. That took a little bit of doing, but we got her. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take a couple pieces of fat wood, and because I already threw one down in here, we're just going to throw another piece down in there. The key with these is to make sure that you don't overload it, because if you overload it, it'll just go out and you won't have any ability. You'll have to go in and grind everything out. You have to go in with a piece of metal or something to get everything out. So we're just going to let these things naturally go up. You can hear it. You can actually already hear it drawing. See, it's just sucking it straight up. It's looking good. I'm really happy with that. Yeah. So, like I said previously, this one's going to be for cooking, and this one we're just going to do a burn test on. We're going to see how long it goes. So I'm going to take another piece of fat wood, and this one is way deeper, so it should burn for way longer. All right, the time is 3:22. Now again, we don't want to use too much. We want to make sure that we're not bogging the flame down. We just want to let it kind of go naturally. So I only put one piece in so far. Oh. It's still going. Now when I first started using these, I figured that more was better, and that's where I learned where it's actually less is more. You don't want to put too much in there because it'll bog it down. I keep saying that, but I just want to impart how important that is to make sure that we don't add too much. So, prior to getting all this going, what I ended up doing was I got everything prepped. So we're going to be doing steak, we're going to be doing shrimp, we're going to be doing mushrooms and onions, and with the shrimp I'm going to do garlic and butter. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be really good. So I think this one's already taken off. I just put 2 pieces of fat wood in it. I haven't had to add anything else. Let's see how this one's doing. It's still going. All right, here we are. So I put the 4 screws in. Normally you only need to use 3, but it's kind of a heavy pan, so I want to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. So the first thing we're going to do, add the butter. Now this shouldn't take long because again we have direct flame on this thing, so it should get cooking really quick. The best part about having snow on the ground, stick my butter right there and it's not going to melt. Yep, and it is going. So my lovely assistant just pointed out what I want to show you guys, kind of what we're doing with this. As you can see, there is a flame that is directly on the cast iron here, and it's actually doing a pretty good job of cooking everything. I'm really rather impressed with it. I had some questions, and I was a little bit dubious about how much heat we were going to get out of it, but it seems to be cooking these just fine. I'm not having any issues. This one's still going. Like I said, this one's just the test burn, but everything seems to be going just fine. The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is you can see that the air hole right here is starting to well out a little bit. That's concerning to me. I'm hoping that it doesn't get too big and it starts to fall apart because I still have steak and shrimp to cook. But so far, so good. I don't have any complaints. All right, everybody. So that kind of turned into a mess. It worked actually pretty well, but it did turn into a mess. As you can see, it's all caved in on the inside, and the air hole, the vent hole, is completely bore out. So I don't think we're going to be able to salvage this one. Like I had said, you know, you can tamp it out, but I just don't think that's going to happen with this one. I don't know exactly what happened. It probably had something to do with what I did or how I ended up boring into it. It might have been at an angle, or this was just not as good of a piece of wood as I had thought, because you can kind of see now what I was talking about with these cracks that are opening up. Not great. This one, however, this one's still just going away. I mean, yeah, I haven't had, you know, you can see the bore hole on the side hole on this is also starting to open up a little bit, but I mean, it's still going. I haven't had any issues. This one, you know, it's only superficial, so maybe try to get it down a little bit deeper next time. The other thing that I was, my mother-in-law stopped by and she had said, hey, what if you put 2 holes in it so you have double the airflow? So we talk about one right there, go around the other side, like one right there-ish. So I don't know, maybe that's absolutely worth trying, but if you look down in there, you can see that the air hole is just chewing itself out, and this was starting to kind of collapse in. It was making me nervous, but I got her done. So I'm going to pause this, and we're going to go into the kitchen. I'm going to show you everything I cooked. I'm actually super proud of it. It cooked really well. It just took a little bit of obviously tending. You know, I had to breathe on it or blow on it and stuff like that. So just give me a couple of minutes here, and we'll be back with you. All right, and here's the spread. So we have bread that my wife baked. We have the steaks that I made. I'm actually pretty impressed with them. They actually came out pretty good. We got a little bit of char on the outside, which is awesome. And I think this one's still rare, which I like. The shrimp came out really cool, too. I was really happy with that. And the onions, And again, these two things were before I kind of got the hang of everything, realizing I had to blow on everything. But the onions and mushrooms came out good. These came out really good, but I'm really happy with the steaks. I think they're probably my favorite thing because once I was able to kind of figure it out, everything worked in my favor. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stop recording here, and I'll kind of keep you posted as far as that other log that we have. I'm just going to let it burn, and I will give you guys the times, kind of what's going on, and we'll go from there, and then we'll end the video. All right, we're going to cut into this. I want to see how well I did. Oh, yeah, that's rare. That's just how I like it. Yep, look at that. It's blue rare. That is perfect. And as far as my mother-in-law, let's see how hers went. Oh, it's medium rare. Right on. I nailed it. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Thanks, guys. Like I said, I'll keep you updated as far as what happens next with the big one. It is about 6:30, so it's been about 3 hours, and I'm calling it. If you look, you can see right here that it has actually burned through on the backside. You're not able to see it from the front, but I saw flames coming, or coming around, and I saw they were coming from the back. So, I mean, it's still going, but I would definitely not cook on this. This would just be for fire or effect only. So, hey, I want to thank you guys for watching this one. This one was obviously a little bit different. Got a little bit of cooking in. Dinner was absolutely delicious. I'm super proud of it. Everything went well. I have some things that I want to try. Some things that I want to update. I'm thinking about maybe putting 2 holes in instead of just 1. So that way it'll be more like a torch. That way I can get the flame kind of directed more towards where it needs to be as far as cooking. But they do work. As far as if the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak, as far as if it's worth you putting the work into it, that's going to be up to you. I can't make that decision. I'm going to say for me, probably not, in all honesty, unless I can figure out how to get it to direct the jet, up and make it more of a blowtorch sort of setup, for cooking. It's a lot of work, and I'm just not sure that it's completely worth it, But I hope you guys learned something today. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have anything that you'd like to see me do, any comments, anything that you think that could be done better, by all means, throw them in the comments. I'm all about it. I love hearing from you guys. And that's it. I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.